Oh, that's not good. Okay. Okay. Chaim David is on. Chaim David is working.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is on already? Okay. So welcome to Maseches Gitin and the journey. We set sail on new Masechta. The Mishnah is very interesting. How the way that it's set up, that it talks about a particular question. Like we will start off, what's a get, and how is it done, and all the basics. That starts in the 8th parak. Towards the end of the Masechta. So first talk about the particular details of that we would have thought would be advanced. So there are many Masechtas like that. I don't know the way the Mishnayos are arranged.
You mean the basic?
The basics are
going to
left.
come later.
Right towards then. So here's talking about that there's a get, a divorce document. That's what a get is, and it's a pasuk in Parshas Kiseitze. That's it's about just interesting how the divorce. It talks about in the middle of the telling you the din that if a man divorces his wife and she marries somebody else and he divorces her, he can't come back again. And in that parsha, that's how it says that a man took a wife and he divorces her, and then she marries somebody else and he divorces her. Can't take the first husband can't take her back. So it's divorcing, but it is interesting that it's not a parsha. It's called Sefer Krisus.
So why do we put get?
The word get
Who
is
made up?
it's a rabbinic word on the Tanakh. It's a rabbinic language that it can mean any kind of a document, but there's a one test you never find in the Tanakh together. But I think that Rav Chaim Kanievsky said that you do find a couple of way places. I can look at it now. It's easy to look on the computer nowadays if that's true or not. But that's a part, if it's true or not, either that's not going to be the reason why it's called a get.
And here when it says Sefer Krisus, Krisus just means
to cut, right? The Sefer
you're cutting the
right.
ketubah.
You're cutting the marriage. Cutting the marriage, which is what probably what does the divorce mean? Also, the word divorce in English probably die, probably some divide, something of separating.
Separating, yes.
Okay, I don't know. So here it talks about that there is a possibility, besides the husband directly give the get to his wife. It talks about it, the first husband, the second husband, he writes the divorce document and he gives it into her hand. So the pasuk does about the husband directly giving to the wife in her the divorce document, but it's taken for granted that it doesn't have to be done directly. It can be through a shliach also, and that's what Amish is talking about. That a husband could make a shliach to give the get to his wife, and here it talks that if it's long distance, that he's not there, they're coming across overseas. So, is there any extra precaution that we made that the shliach has to testify when he's giving over the get? That's what that's the case we're talking about. And maybe if somebody brings a get, the shliach is bringing the get from the husband to the wife in Medina Sayyam, from a place across the ocean, literally Medina Sayyam or Medina Hayam, like overseas, what we would call. Somebody means to get from overseas. So they made a takana. We just start from the first, right? I maybe get from Medina Sayyam. The person, the shliach who brings the get from overseas, has to say when he gives it over to the woman, he has to say that it was written before me and it was signed before me. So he's testifying something about the writing and something about the signing. It doesn't say what he's testifying about, but he says it has to have been written. First of all, we see it has to be written before him. If someone wants to send a get overseas, he has to make sure that the shliach is there when they write the get, and also when they sign the get. That's what it says. And we don't know yet. Before me it was written, before me it was signed. He testifies. Okay, we don't know too much. What's the reason? Why? Why did they make such a comment? So the first thing the Mishnah said was only Medina Sayyam. Medina Sayyam means overseas. It sounds like if you're not overseas, if you're coming from close by, then you don't have to. The correct question how to pronounce it, Rekem, Rekem. But even if you bring from a place which is not Medina Sayyam, even close to Eretz Yisrael, and these are cities that are close to Eretz Yisrael. Rashi says that it's the places that you find in the Targum. Rashi says, Pasuk says, Ben Kadesh Ben Bored. And on that, the Targum says, Ben Rekam Lecheger. So there's a little problem with Rashi that recommend the Kadesh and Bored that Rashi quotes is in the south of Eretz Yisrael, and the Gemara seems to say, the Mishnah seems to say seems soon to say that it's going to be on the east. So just to point out that the Ramban argues in Rashi and says that the Rekem Lecheger of the Mishnah is not the Rekem Lecheger that the Targum says on Kadesh and Borod. So not necessarily. Of course, it's coincidental to have two places that are
I'm
the
sorry,
same.
I'm not following. What is Kaddish and Bored?
There's a place in the places in the by Hagar. It says that she was in Kadesh or Ben Borod. Rashi brings a pasuk
Ben Kaddish or
Ben Borod. That's a pasuk, and
Okay.
the Targum over there says Ben Rekem Lecheger. So just pointing out that that's not so simple. Which one it is? The Mishnah is going to say soon that it's on the east of Eretz Yisrael, and this Rashi quotes is in the south of Eretz Yisrael, which might be a little bit of a problem. But for our purposes, it's the point of Gamliel is coming to say is that it's not Dafka overseas, even if it will be close by. It's also agreed upon that it's Chutz La'aretz. The point is that it's from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. Someone's bringing a get from Chutz La'aretz, even if it's just across the border and it's not overseas. Also, Rav Gamliel says he also has to say b'fanei nechta. The plot thickens. What does that have to do with? What does that have to do with Chutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael? This whole issue. Why are we saying b'fanei nechta? We don't know anything yet. So far, Tanakh says Medina Sayom overseas. Rav Gamliel says even if it's close by, also you have to say b'fanei nechta, that it was written and signed before me. A big chiddush. Even from a place called Kfar Ludim to Lud. So Lud, we know Lod, don't know, but to call today Lud, it's in Eretz Yisrael. But there's a place nearby which seems to be Chutz La'aretz. So Kfar Ludim, we're going to say is Chutz La'aretz, and Lud is Eretz Yisrael. And even though it's on the Eretz Yisrael territory, it means it's near Lud, and that's near the ocean over there. It's not going to be so far from. It's close by.
But nobody's saying that from Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, even if it's one.
Right, we're going to talk about that also. We'll talk about it soon, but so far nobody says that. The three choices are from overseas, or from close by, Rekem and Cheger, or from even closer by, Parludim and Lud. The Gemara is going to say, why? How is it closer even? Fine.
And you did the Hachamim?
No. And now Chachamim seem to be saying over the same thing as the first opinion said. Maybe So to put in this word also, molech also. Hamolech, period. I don't have my tools yet today. I'll try to get it tomorrow. I'm not set up yet for today. But the word, so if I said the same thing, that you only have to say only from overseas, which is a Tanakama. Tanakama said overseas. Rav Gamliel said even close by. Rav Lezer said even closer by, even for Aludim Lalud. The Chachamim go back and say the same thing as Tanakama, only overseas.
What does Hamolech mean?
They say next word, Molech.
And also Molech.
What does that mean?
Molech is the opposite direction. You're taking. Maybe means to bring. Molech means to take. That means that someone, like this is why someone, right? He's taking a get from Israel to the woman who's in Medina Sayam overseas. He also has to say.
Right.
So we still have no idea what's the reason of all this and what's the difference if it's coming or going.
Right.
Tanakama didn't say anything about. No one spoke about going. Everybody spoke about coming. And now he says also Molech. Also, if he takes the get from Eretz Yisrael to bring it to Chutz La'aretz, to Medina Sayam, also he has to say b'fanei nechta. Okay, we're pretty lost. What is it all about? Now, next halacha. Maybe Medina b'Medina Sayam. What is nothing to do with Eretz Yisrael? Everything's in Chutz La'aretz, but also it's not close. Not close by. It's from one Medina to another Medina. The word Medina we translate nowadays as a state.
It's a country.
Province, they say.
Yeah. But here it sounds that it's more like a province. It's not such a big area. Sometimes you even find that a Medina is less than a year. And the Midrashim, when it talks about a city, and Medina might even be something less than a city. So I don't know what's the word province. We'll take the word province. What's the next word about Hegmunya? You have coming up soon. I have to have another translation. I thought the next one is going to be a province, but let's take it so far. So he brought from Medina Sayam, so not only from overseas to Eretz Yisrael, all these other things about close by to Eretz Yisrael. How about within two provinces within Chutz La'aretz?
Okay, they call it jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction,
So
okay.
two
Okay, that's
provinces
good.
could be in the same country.
Well, Canada,
And
Canada, we
it's
got 12 provinces.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, so that's it. Okay, that's it. Wow.
What was
In
the-
America, every,
Well, you-
in
when you're
America,
saying-
every state.
you're
would be
saying
a-
problem.
Like a
Yeah,
problem.
that's
So in
the same
France,
thing.
there are
He brings it from New York to
Doesn't have
California.
to be
Same
like this,
exactly.
even if it can be much smaller also. In Medina, La Medina, but if you, I would say even from city to city. The Mishnah comes to say that within Chutz La'aretz, within Medina Sayyam, you have to say from place to place. So he says Medina La Medina, which would mean like a city to a city. You want to say province to a province,
You
make
wanna say,
that
like, so from New York City to Albany, New York, which is two different.
right.
Yeah.
So you would have to say also and Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer afilu me'agmunya la'agmunya, which was translated
Yeah,
as
even if it's a
jurisdiction. One jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, and if there's any reason why there's not free travel between the two, it might be also that you have to say over there also. That seems to be a section on itself. So far we talked about Chutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael. We had 3 levels over there, overseas, close by, even closer by. Then we also mentioned something about the opposite direction, going from Eretz Yisrael to these places. That also maybe have to say. The first Mishnah Chachamim just spoke about Medina Sayyam. So he says Molech from Eretz Yisrael to Medina Sayyam. Does anybody talk about Kfar Ludim and Lud over there? Can it be from Lud to Kfar Ludim? How about if you take from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz in a short distance? The Mishnah didn't talk about it. The other shittas that say even close by, you also have to say they didn't talk about close by taking from Eretz Yisrael. It didn't say. Just seeing what it reading what it says so far. And then the next point that the Mishnah said within a Chutz La'aretz, Medina La Medina, and even maybe from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction, also you'd have to say the shliach, the messenger that comes to deliver the get. So he would have to say it was signed, it was written and signed before me. Now the next part of the Mishnah, I would like to make a period here and start a new point, a new Mishnah, that what's the borders of Eretz Yisrael. So it's going to give you the eastern border and the northern border and the southern border and the north, south, and east. Doesn't talk about the west. Rashi says because the west is the Yam, the Mediterranean. That's the western border. So you don't need a bull over there. But if you don't have Rekem the Mizrach, Rekem the Mizrach. Rekem, the city Rekem, is the eastern border of Eretz Yisrael for our purposes. And Ashkelon is the southern border, and Akko is the northern border. So it's not Eretz Yisrael as we know. It's very much smaller. Akko is the northernmost, Ashkelon is the southernmost, and Rekem is the easternmost. We don't know where Rekem is. And each time it tells you that the city itself is also considered already Chutz La'aretz. Rekem is the eastern border.
The city itself is,
Right,
you
from
say it's the
Rekem-
border, but it's Chutz La'aretz.
and that city itself, right? That city itself is the border. But what does it mean? It's the border. No man's land,
Border
or it's
outside.
Eretz
I see,
Yisrael
it's the border
inside. So it says that Rekem is already Chutz La'aretz. Rekem is the eastern border. From Rekem and on is going to be considered Chutz La'aretz, and Rekem itself is also considered outside. Ashkelon and southward, and Ashkelon itself is also considered already southward. If someone gives brings a get from Ashkelon, it's considered bringing it from Chutz La'aretz. And Akko itself and Akko is the northern border, and Akko also is considered already Chutz La'aretz. So if you bring a get from Akko to the inside Eretz Yisrael, that is considered bringing it from Chutz La'aretz. Rekem, Ashkelon, and Akko are considered Chutz La'aretz. So we know that Eretz Yisrael goes past Akko to the north, and it goes past Ashkelon to the south. But here it has to be talking about gitin. As far as gitin goes, and we're going to see, we still don't know what all this is about. What is this whole b'fanei nechta all about? So by gitin, it might have some different criteria. What's considered Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz? Maybe it doesn't have to do with the Kedushas Eretz Yisrael or the Chibas Eretz Yisrael. It might have to do with other criteria which we don't know yet. And Rekem, I really don't know where it is. Rashi before said that it's Rekem and Borod, Kadesh and Borod, which is Rekem and Chagar, and that's really in the south of Eretz Yisrael. Here it says that it's the eastern border, so I don't know how to reconcile that. The Ramban says it doesn't necessarily have to be the Rekem and Chagar that the pasuk is talking about. Maybe it's a different place, but he also doesn't seem to say that he knows where it is. But
I'm sorry,
yes,
Rekem was the east, or this?
it says
Ashkelon
Rekem,
is the south and Rekem is the east.
yes,
Okay.
and Akko is the north.
And Akko is the north.
Rabbi Omer, Akko Eretz Yisrael.
What happened to Rabbi Yehuda?
He's the one who said all that.
Can you do the words? I didn't
Rabbi Yehuda,
understand how
I'm
you
sorry.
said Kim Israel. I didn't understand.
Rabbi Yehuda, Rekem Lemizrach. From Rekem towards the east is the border.
Yeah.
Is the line, right?
Yeah.
And Rekem itself is also considered Kim Mizrach. Rekem is considered already east.
Mizrach meaning is
East.
Chutz La'aretz.
Mizrach means east, right? From Rekem eastward, and Rekem itself is considered east already.
And east means east of Eretz Yisrael, which is Chutz La'aretz.
Right. And it means that from Rekem and eastward is considered Chutz La'aretz, and Rekem itself is considered the east already.
Okay,
And,
okay.
and the same way over there.
Ashkelon,
Ashkelon is also
Kidron.
Kedar. Akko itself and Vakko, because Akko itself is considered north of Eretz Yisrael, and it's not Eretz Yisrael. But Meir argues in the last point, he says Akko itself is Eretz Yisrael. But Meir Omer, Akko carries Yisrael, Gitin, that as far as Gitin goes, they have to say, not have to say, B'fani Nechta, but B'fani Nechtam, Akko is considered Eretz Yisrael. As far as other halachas, maybe Akko is not, but as far as Gitin, Akko, this is Akko of today, right?
Really? So
Maybe the old city of Akko, not the new city of Akko, but the old city of Akko, right? There's an old city.
it's not considered Yisrael.
So the question is, as far
Rabbi
as,
Meir
as
says
far as
yes.
Gittin. Rabbi Meir says yes, and Tanakama says not. That's the question. But the Gittin over here doesn't seem to be with the Kedusha. That's the point out that the Ramban over here says that all this, even if someone asked me the other day that, let's say nowadays, Chumas and Maisha says Rabbanon. Let's say with the Raisa, until you have Am Yisrael, or all of Am Yisrael, or most of Am Yisrael and Israel, so Chumas and Maisha says Rabbanon. So are you going to say that maybe it doesn't have Kedusha Eretz Yisrael, maybe the whole issue about Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and maybe it doesn't apply nowadays because we don't have Kedusha Eretz Yisrael with the Raisa. So there's Ramban right here that says that's nothing to do with each other. The halachas about Gitin, the halachas about Chumas and Maisha has nothing to do with the Chibas Haaretz and the Kedusha Haaretz and Dira and Yeshiva that live here, and the love of Eretz Yisrael and the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael as far as the Ruchnius and the love of Eretz Yisrael that Hashem is talking about and bringing us back. It's irrelevant if it's Chayim Chumas and Maisha or not. So I knew Achtam Sofer says that, but I didn't know that's Ramban. Maybe just for the Chiba on the stuff. Maybe just the Chibas Eretz Yisrael. Maybe just mention it to put it on screen right now. Let's just get the Ramban over here.
And how far the sentence did you read?
I'll do it again. I just want to get this on, and then we'll put also everybody else on also. How do I do this? But we want to find the Ramban on Gitin. Sorry. You know, the more he's talking about over here on the dome, he has other players considered Eretz Yisrael. Here says that it's not. So he says by Gitin it might be dependent on if when they came back from but after it became conquered, did they live over there? Are there yeshivas over there? Inamis real. Oh, Kitchalah was a maestros. Haviva. Dami Kedusha Shlishis Eshlehem, Yafalpain Erech Basa, Yomed Shasa Leni Yeshiva. So even if Eretz Yisrael Kadosh until they're getting Kedusha Shlishis, they have to be Mekadosh, and as far as Chumas and Maisros, it might not be Chayiv, but these words, Eretz Yisrael, the Kedushasa, Yomedas, Chibasa, and Kedushasa Leni Yeshiva. As far as living there and settling, it's had.
So is it part of Eretz Yisrael or not part of Eretz Yisrael?
So we're talking about Gitin. As far as Gitin, we're talking about like the Ramban mentions us already. That's what people over there. If it's settled, but the dinim over there. The issue we're talking about Gitin. I didn't say it yet because I was going to talk about what the reason of all. It's a different subject. No, and we go back on. Wow.
It is part of Eretz Yisrael, but there are other factors disqualified from.
That's Gitin. Gitin is another subject. What I try not to say, just to keep us in suspense. That the Mishnah didn't tell us what it's about yet. The Mishnah hands off, no one more part of it. But maybe only Akko case Yisrael to get there. Akko is considered Eretz Yisrael as far as Akko said Akko Kitzapon.
Yeah.
It says no, Akukesin, period. No, I maybe get Be'eretz Yisrael. So far we spoke about Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Really, Chutz La'aretz, Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Within Chutz La'aretz, province to province, jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Now we're talking Eretz Yisrael. Maybe get Eretz Yisrael. It's not necessary. It sounds in the Mishnah in any case, even from the north to the south, even if you bring from right under Akko to right on top of Ashkelon. The Mishnah ends off. If there's somebody that is complaining, what's the nice word for Olim in English? If there are.
When there are those that can contest.
If anybody contests the get, which will mean the husband comes and says that I never sent it, this is forged, or some problem, so then you have to verify. You have to verify the signatures. Means the first round of the Mishnah means that in the last case, where you don't have any verification, all the cases we said till now, you bring from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael or within Chutz La'aretz, so you don't need verification because they verified it already. The Shliach by saying, so there is some hint what this is all about. So far we didn't have any hint. Here is a hint that it says that this issue of verification. We don't know if this is authentic signatures. So the Shliach who says it was signed before me, so that's some kind of a verification. The Chiddush, even though it's only one person, it's only a Eid Echad, that's good enough. But in here in Eretz Yisrael, where we don't obligate him to say the funny nechta, so it's never verified. If there's going to come someone who's going to contest the validity of the get, so then you have to verify the signatures then.
Right. And nobody argues with that. About from Eretz Yisrael.
That's what it sounds like. Nobody argues it. There is a pshat. There is a pshat that before when it said so I said that it's also Eretz Yisrael. Chutz La'aretz, there's Kfar Ludim is Chutz La'aretz. There is a Yerushalmi Machavusha told me that says that he holds that even in Eretz Yisrael, both of them are Eretz Yisrael, and still you have to. So there's maybe there's an opinion, but the Pashtan the Mishnah way we're learning, nobody argues that within Eretz Yisrael there's no necessity to say b'fanei nechta.
It's weird that they have that. Like you should always have like two witnesses and say they were there and that it's valid.
So
why does it make a difference if it comes from Broad or in Eretz Yisrael? You want to get the you want to make sure the whole thing is valid.
Right. So it seems that we would trust that it's valid unless somebody contests it. Then if somebody contests it, so then we have to take care of the.
But that's the course of business. It should.
It would make it clear. But
make it clear, even if it's Israel, so it's whatever in Israel or outside Israel. My point is,
right. What's the why not?
They would always have to say
in order to
in front of me and with sign.
Preempt any problem. Why should we give any room for problem? Why not always make that it should be confirmed?
Because the Eretz Yisrael is
and also it doesn't cost anything. It just has to say it. It's not like you need an aid and it's got to sign something.
Right, but the
issue, a document like what document you would need. It doesn't matter if it's written in Eretz Yisrael or if it's written in Britain. Whatever.
But the issue is that
notaries for that.
So the Gemara is going to say that it's not so simple because it would not always be so.
In Canada, they have notaries also.
The Gemara is going to say that it's not so simple because you don't always have two people that are coming as a shliach. The husband wants to send a get, and he only has one person sending, one person available to travel. They didn't always have two people that are traveling from. Nowadays, you just go to the airport, then whatever, they can get somebody, or it's easy. People get it going a family. Now, family is also not going to be good. You have to have two separate aidim. If you need official aidim, it'll be harder to send a get. So that's why there might be a reason why we'd want to be lenient and not have to verify it as soon as she gets the get.
Because the husband may not be the one.
He might
have a shliach.
We're talking about a shliach. The whole thing is a shliach. If the husband's coming, then there's no issue.
The
whole case is a
shliach
shliach. And he doesn't always have two shluchim that are going to go. To get two people to go to bring the get, more complicated. So the Gemara is going to say that there might be a leniency to be able to let the woman get divorced, even if it's only one person, unless he doesn't contest it. If the husband comes and contests it later on, we'll take care of it then. We'll get more information as we go along. So far, this was the opening.
Right?
Okay, this was the.
No, I'm saying on this. In Israel, you don't need.
Ordering is not complaining.
Notarized,
but what's the word for complaining? Or grumbling is like a word.
In America,
you grumble about something.
Here because you torn the check.
Which has maybe a man.
I'm not sure.
Lawyers, they charge you a fortune, torn the check.
So the word starts off the simple question, my timer. So the Mishnah said all these halachas didn't tell us why. The Mishnah says you have to say.
Why did he have to say
Yeah,
this?
why did they make such a takana that he has to say it was signed and it was written and signed before me? What is it all about? What is that? My time, a big question. So the sikh is going to go on to 2 pages. The base, the
Well, why do you
gimel, the
have to say- why you
avdal,
have to say?
even the I think.
Wow.
Like 4 pages of
That's
discussion. Why? It's
Okay,
going to be
yeah.
2 choices right away, and then the Gemara is going to be juggling for a couple
We'll
of
get the
pages.
answer before Shavuos.
So now-
We'll get the answer right away,
Oh, we'll get the answer.
but the maskana might take a couple of days, 4 days. My time, but why did they make such an enactment? They'd have to say it was written and signed before me. Rabba Omar, there's going to be Rab and Rabba. Jump. The whole time is going to be Rab and Rabba. Rabba's with a hey, Rabba's with a aleph. Rabba Omar, the fishain b'kiyan lishma. Because in Choslavas, they don't know well the halacha that a get has to be written lishma. Lishma means for her sake. That means when it's written, it's not just a document that that they have written already, the scribe writes it, and then somebody takes and gives it to his wife. It has to be written for her
Is this like with a, where is it dagish, whatever the dot is in the?
lishma.
Is that what this word is?
Means for her sake,
It
yes.
doesn't mean like,
For
doing
her sake.
mitzvah lishma,
You do a mitzvah for lishma also, but it also has a that it means for its sake,
for
Yeah.
its sake.
Well,
But
what
here,
does the word
its sake
sake mean?
means
her sake.
in the name of this woman.
Woman, right. It has to be written not only for the sake of a divorce document, it has to be written for the particular woman that he's divorcing. So he can't take a document that's already written stam or that it was written for somebody else with the same name. Of course, it has to have the name. It has a husband's name, it has a wife's name, but it has to be written. Maybe it's a better word for her sake. Any better that the
No,
translation?
that's good.
That's for her sake.
I just
For her
wanted to
sake.
clarify that we're talking,
Right.
because usually lishma, you think of doing it for the sake of that.
So it means for the sake of the mitzvah.
Intent.
Is intent, for the sake of the intent of the heaven, which would mean that for the
That it's
commandment,
for this
because Hashem
particular-
commanded me. So now I'm doing it because of that. So that's written. So people don't know that. People in Chutz La'aretz, we're going to say, it's talking about a place in Chutz La'aretz that was not Tamid Chachamim. It wasn't a Merkaz Torani. It wasn't a Torah center, and they might not know the halachas. So they might have written the get, which is not the Shema. So we want to make sure that the get is written the Shema. So we tell the shliach who comes to verify that it was written and signed before him, and for some reason that's going to help us to know that it was lishma, which we don't know yet. Why not? He doesn't even say that it was written lishma. If he would say b'fanei nechtav lishma, so then we'd understand Rabbah that he has to come and verify that it was written for the sake, for the intention of this woman. But he doesn't say that. But for some reason that's good enough. If he comes and says that it was written and signed before me, we could assume that it was written lishma. And why? And if he wouldn't have said so, he does come give the get. We worried maybe it was not written lishma.
Because when the man is giving it to the shliach, it's get, right? He's giving a get to the shliach to give to her. He wants to make sure it gets to the right woman, doesn't he?
It is going to get to the right woman. That's not the point. The point is that it
Well,
has
so
to.
when he's giving it, he's saying, so then he sees that it's for her.
The question is, if the husband took out a document and gave it to the shliach and says, "Give it to my wife," so we say it's no good. The shliach has to have seen it written and signed, and
I
that's
see.
going to verify to us that it was written lishma.
Uh-huh. And we won't.
And then we're not worried anymore because we have testimony, we have verification that it was written lishma.
So
that's
we're saying
Rabba's
this is
reason.
kind of a weak reason.
Is it weak? Why is it weak?
Because you said it. Why didn't he just say lishma?
Very nice. So the Gemara's going to talk about that. That might be a fault in something in the pshat. It's not such a simple pshat because it doesn't say the word lishma.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's just going to say b'fanei nechtav. B'fanei nechtav. It was signed. It was
Oh,
written.
so he
and
didn't
signed.
pull out of a drawer. He says.
Okay, it wasn't. Yeah, but who says that it was written? Maybe it was written in front of him for not lishma. Maybe it was written in front of him for a different woman, and then the husband decided to give it to him. If the whole issue was
This is
lishma,
the same kind of thing when I asked you about what's the problem of somebody, of a goy, if I see him passing the wine, and you said because when he's passing the wine, he might say, "This is to my God." And you don't know what he meant. So too, this husband, how would the shliach know who he wrote it for?
if he saw him writing it, even if he saw him writing it,
He wouldn't know, just like somebody passing wine. How would you know that they're not using it for avodah zarah? You don't see their lips moving or anything, but maybe their intent is this is for avodah zarah.
so it has to be that when he saw him writing it, he knew that he's doing it for his wife. Not that he knows what he's doing. If he's writing it, or the sofa is writing it for this person's wife, so we know what he's doing. But it's a chiddush also that if he doesn't say the word lishma, how do you know? He doesn't say, I saw it writing. Maybe he saw it writing. Ruvain Greenstein was writing it for his wife, and he happened to be there. And then he decided it's okay, I'll stay with my wife. And Ruvain
Greenstein came.
No, a different.
Different.
I meant to say
What?
a different view. Okay, and I saw it. I saw both of them. If you don't make him say the word Lishma, maybe it doesn't. It's not clear that he meant to say for his wife.
Okay,
But the Gemara is going to say, if he says before Nechta, we could assume that it was written kosher.
okay.
That was all Rabbah. Rabbah Amar. Because if you bring a get from overseas, we don't have witnesses that are available to verify it in case we'll need verification. It means the end of the Mishnah said, if there's going to be some, got the word already? It's going to be contested. Thank you. Once we start the Masechta, it's going to be for but the first day we have to get the translation. So if it's going to be contested, we'll bring verification then. So that's fine in Eretz Yisrael where we could find agent to verify it. But if someone comes from overseas, we don't know how to get verification for this signature. So we can't rely that when it's going to be contested, then we're going to get Adam. We don't have any Adam. If you're local, so we don't have to verify it right away. We'll verify it if need be. If the husband's going to come and say what happened, if it's forged, I never divorced her, so we'll get the verification of the signatures. But if someone comes from a place we don't have readily access to any kind of verification of the signatures, we want to take care of it right away. We'll notarize it now in order not to have any problem later on. So only, like Eli said, that why not notarize it now? So the Gemara says it's only if you will have difficulty to verify it later. But if there's no reason to be choshesh, you'll have difficulty later, so we don't have to notarize it now. Now we'll take it as is, and if there's anybody that comes to contest it, we'll take care of it later. But from Chutz La'aretz, that it's not going to be possible to verify it later, we'll notarize it now. How do we notarize it? The shliach says it was written and signed before me.
How would you translate it? So you
Available. There are not witnesses available to verify it. Those are going to be the two main players over here, Rabbah and Rabbah. Rabbah says Lishma, Rabbah says because of Kiyum. The word Kiyum means verification. My benayim, what will be a difference between any differences? The Maisa might benafkamina between the two opinions. The Gemara is going to say three opinions. Three differences. That's number one. If two people come, not one person, two people came to bring the get. Tell them we're talking about that
One shliach.
one person came.
One
How about if two people came? So Rashi seems to say that if there are two people that came, so then we can assume they'll be available to verify it if need be.
They are the verified.
if two people
Two
came,
people brought the get. That's you betray. Two people
Came.
brought it.
brought it.
Two people brought it. So if the problem is because of Lishma, it doesn't help anything. In Chutz La'aretz, they don't know. They're Amoritz over there, they're ignorant, and they might not know that has to be Lishma. So even though if two people brought it, we don't know that it's Lishma. So they'd have to say B'fanei Nechta. But if the reason is because of we need verification, we need verification to be accessible. So if two people came, so they're available to verify it if need be.
They are the verified.
They didn't verify it now.
You mean they can be
No, but-
they can be adim
If we need them.
because they're two, so that's
Because
good
they're
enough
two.
for adim. One is not good enough for any.
This is how Rashi
So
learns
that would
that
be
they'll be available if we need them. If has the kasha, you're not keeping them around. Maybe who says they're going to stay around over here? Maybe they're going to leave. They also came just to visit. They came and they brought it. They're going to go back just because they came now. Why does that mean that they're going to continue staying here? This is Taisus Kasha and Rashi. Pirsha Kuntris. If he ain't them assuming the time, well, you come with the kasha. That to keep a table. Who said that? Who says that we're going to keep them around?
Yeah.
When the husband's going to come.
So what?
Taisus' answer is that he's not going to be believed. Once we have two Eidim that come and say that he gave it to us, he sent us, so he's not going to believe to say that the signatures are forged. Where's Taisus' answer over here? Riva. I'm sorry, just read it first. The two people, they say that the husband sent us. The Sulam and Melom Malo Shalachtim. He's not going to be believed to say anymore that I didn't send him. Two Eidim say that he sent us.
Right.
And we're not kosher that.
It's 2 against 1.
Okay, two against he's not eight, it's the husband, but two Eidim that say that they made us,
Right.
and he can't, and we don't think there's a problem that he made Eidim soon. He was going to say that the Eidim were not kosher. He's not believed to say that. The only point was that he says that it's forged. I never did such a thing. But if they said that you sent us, that's enough. So right now, that the point is once two Eidim came and say that he sent us, so we don't need, they won't be able to contest it anymore. That's
And
the
how-
first nafkamina between Rabbah and Rabbah. according to Rabbi, even if two people bring it, they would have to say the funny nachtam in order to verify that it's the Shema.
That's Rabba.
And Rabba will say,
Rabba.
that's Rabba. And
Rabba.
Rabba is not concerned about the Shema. He doesn't have that problem. That's not the issue over here. The issue is to have verification in case he's going to contest. And if two people came and said that the husband gave it to us, he cannot contest it anymore.
And what's the difference in Rashi? I understand, but I didn't get the Tosfos.
So it says that once the husband, what I said now was Tosfos.
Can you repeat it?
I'm not sure which one you're happy, which one you're not. Tosfos says
I'm
that
happy with the one that he said there's two and they can be like Edus, so that's Rashi, isn't it? And then Tosfos
no,
said that
everyone
they may
says
leave.
that was Tosfos Kasha on Rashi. So Rashi, you're not happy with it. Rashi says that we have Edom available. If we need them, we'll
Yeah,
call
but at
them.
least I understand it.
Okay,
There are two available.
they're two available to testify that it was that the
So, yeah,
signature
let's
is.
say they won't leave according to Rashi.
Okay, that is fine. If they're gonna stay around, whenever
Yeah,
we need
yeah,
them,
so
that's
that's
fine.
Rashi,
That's
right?
Kasha, they're gonna go back. So they're not gonna be around anymore. So Tosfos says that once the Edom testified that he sent us, not the verification of the signatures, is testified that the husband sent us. That's what we're saying. The husband made us shluchim to bring the
Yeah.
get. So he's not gonna be believed to contest it anymore. He's gonna come and say. I
Oh, he
never
won't
sent-
be believed to contest it.
What's he gonna say? The Edom are forged. You sent it. Okay,
This is a dry, it makes it much easier. That's at the end, he says that. Even if two people say that he divorced her, so she's divorced, it's not good to say.
Ah,
Because it says at the end.
I didn't see that.
Well, my English yomru b'fanenu girsha milo v'enli,
Mhm,
without a gay.
mhm. But then Taisa says that the problem might be still that maybe he says that's true that I made you shluchim, but the Edom were not kosher Edom. So he says that you're not kosher shluchim. That's your call. Okay, that's the first nafkamina between the two opinions. Second nafkamina, Nami Medina Lamdina Beres Yisrael, that two pull provinces within Eretz Yisrael. That if the issue is because of Lishma, in
I
Eretz
thought we
Yisrael-
said it was between, only Rebbe Meir says that. I thought you don't need Aiden.
that's what it seems to be in the Mishnah. The Mishnah seems to say, so we have to get that. It wasn't to get to the Mishnah. So far, just with logic. If
With
you hold the
logic,
issue,
if it were in Eretz Israel and Eretz Israel, and
Right.
brought two, and
no, not two.
one person
one
said,
person.
and you have to say, I
Does
started.
he have to say? Does he have to say?
Okay,
If the issue is Lishma, so he doesn't have to say, because in Eretz Yisrael, we have no problem. We know that everyone knows the halach of Lishma.
okay,
So then you would not have to say, if it has to do with having verification, so we don't have verification. The more things, at this
Uh-huh.
point, that we're not gonna have verification from province to province, it's too far away. So according to Rabbi, you would have to say, and
I
the third
see.
nafkamina would be, Inami Bosa Medina Medina Sayam. Locally, a get which is brought locally from Medina Sayam, from Chuslaris to Chuslaris. If the reason is Lishma, so you would have to say, because the Choshish that the other city doesn't know Lishma, and if it has to do with verification within the same province, we do have verification available. Is that good? Three nafkaminas. The first one was if two Edom brought from Medina Sayam, two Edom. So we'll say Taisus tried to make it easy that they say that the husband sent us, so we have no problem of him ever contesting it, but we do have a problem of Lishma. And the last case, just to jump to the last case, the same idea that within the same city in Chuslaretz, so we have verification available. Whenever we need, we can get verification. So you'd have to say, case was the two provinces with Israel, the Shema is not a problem, but we would mention that there's not verification available since it's from place to place, it's from one province to another province. So three nafkaminas between Rav and Rav.
okay.
Now the Gemara is the kasha.
That's what- It's interesting what he says. Rashi says, "Kagayin Kudav Galil."
The available verification.
Right.
Okay.
And Rashi puts it, he says, "Hash the Vashchicha Shar Yosef."
Okay. The Gemara is the kasha, which the Gemara is going to ask on both opinions. The Gemara could have made it much shorter, but the Gemara is going to ask on each. Is one enough? Why don't we need two?
Okay,
If any occasion, if
For
it's for
each
Lishma,
nafkamina?
each reason, not enough. It's not the Rabba and Rabba,
oh.
Lishma, or verification. According to either reason, we have two of them. How come here one
How
is good
come your
enough?
one is enough? See, Lurab
According to Rabbi, we'll take Rabbi first, but we'll deal with Rabbi next. Same question. Reason is because they don't know Lishma, and you want a testimony that it was made Lishma. You should need to aid them. How come you trust one aid? I don't know the exact translation of me, but as we have by all kinds of testimonies in the Torah that you have to have two aidim. So how come we're going to trust one aid over here? You don't know if it's Lishma. One aid comes and says it's Lishma. That's good enough. You should need two aidim like the whole Torah. The answer is Eidach Hanam Bisurin. There's only a question of Isser over here, the Gemara thinks, and therefore Eidach Hanam Bisurin. One aid is good enough. It's not coming to take out money. No, it's not. No financial issues over here. They're not coming to say it's time to pay. They want to know if it was made a kosher get. So an Eidach say that's a kosher get. How you know Eidach Hanam Bisurin? The Gemara doesn't go into it over here. Rashi just for. Every time you want to know if something's kosher, you can trust a person that is kosher. You come to somebody's house, is it kosher? He says it's kosher. You're allowed to trust him. One aid is good enough. So the same way that your one aid is them with all these and here also the Gemara starts that we could trust one aid to say that it was made lishma. The Gemara jumps up. When do we say that one aid is believed to testify? If there's a piece of meat, you don't know if it's kosher or not. In most cases, chaylev is a non-kosher fat, and shuman is a kosher fat. So you have a piece of meat or a fat, whatever it is, and you don't know if it's kosher or not. And he says it's kosher. I trust him. Over there, lo is chazik yisura. It hasn't been. I need the English word. It hasn't been. Not verified. It's chazik would be like assumed. It hasn't been.
Doesn't have a chazaka.
A little better English.
It doesn't have a.
More. It's a question of status. From a status. It hasn't had a status yet of assumption.
To be usher.
It's more than assumption. It's more of changing the status. If you have a piece of meat and you don't know if it's kosher or not, so it had to be a status that you have to change the status quo. What is that? It hasn't been established that it's usher. So it means that if it's just two possibilities, kosher or not. So it's kosher. But if something had been established as usher and you change the status quo, the bigger kiddush to be able to do. Change the status quo. The established status that till now was one state, and now you want to change it. Here, till now she was a married woman, and now you want to change the status to make her not married, and you want to say that this married anymore. So maybe it was not believed. It's an eidach name believed to change the status. An eidach is only believed to it's not going against the chazaka. Going against the chazaka, and the is not believed. The Gemara continues.
I'm sorry. How far do you go?
No. Avalacha, this chazik yisur, the eshes. I would like to stop over there.
But here, where there would be changing of a status to is becomes an ashes.
Because she was an ashes, and now you want to make her not to be an ashes. Ashes means a married woman. Till now she was a married woman. Now we want to make her single. You want to change her status.
And then we want to change her status.
Not married.
So that to everybody in the world.
Yes.
Status. So that's not the same as like
if there be something that was non-kosher, let's say untied produce is awesome. Now someone comes and says that it was tied it. So that's changing the status. So there may be a one. Over there, maybe that is one because he has the ability to change it himself. He can change it. It's biyodo. It's in his ability to change the status himself. I don't want to get complications, but that's an example of changing the status. That the Gemara is saying that if the status of an Ish is to change the status is a bigger power you need. So that's because you find that an Eidach is Neman to tell us information we didn't know, but not against the Chazak. not enough of a proof to say that he's believed even to go going against the chazaka. Till now she had a cheska seishes. She was established as, not assuming, she was established as a woman, and now you want to change that. You say that is not enough.
The difference between verifying a stat, changing a stat.
Good.
So this is a kash on Rav.
Right, we're not having it. He said, that's not a good answer. One of the ways let me sue a piece of meat that you don't know if it's kosher or not, that it hasn't been established that it was, but here that it was still now us, and you want to change. So
Continue.
right, the very reason is the way should I stop because the Ramban has a problem over here. Doesn't seems to say something else. Now it brings in another problem that this is considered a davar sheberes to do with erva, with a woman, if it means kedushin, gitin, marriage. So the halacha is ein davar sheberes that you can't have testimony about a davar sheberes less than two. So it's very nice, the very strong reason what the Gemara is saying, but the problem is that it's different than the Gemara. The first started saying nothing, just the fact that it's going against the chazaka, you have to have two. The Ramban says that get out. These words, have you the Ramban suggests to take it out. If you do have it, then some will say that it's like another reason, two reasons the Gemara is saying. First of all, it's a eidechad against the chazaka, so maybe it's not believed. And second of all, it's a davar sheberes, but even if it's not, also you have to have two. It seems to be two reasons. There's two reasons, then the first point about an eidech against the chazaka seems to be a question in the Gemara. The Gemara has a question: is the eidech neman against the chazaka? So it might be not believe. What?
Besides the zikir, so just as in vote.
Right.
Yeah,
So that might make it be two gersos. So that's just the point that it seemed to be two issues that the Gemara is saying. Either take out. First of all, it's eidechad against the chazaka. Taisu says that the Gemara has a question about that. Is the eidechad neman against the chazaka? So the Gemara might mean that maybe that's enough of a reason to ask that. And even if you say that it is, yeah, surely it's worse because it's a erva, and by erva you also have to have two. Even I could. So that's the kasha. Why is an eidechad enough? How come they believe that comes and says the funny nachta? The Gemara says that even though we say chus laretz, they're ignorant and they don't know. Even on chus laretz, most people do know. So there's a rule. Means you could.
You're lucky in what?
The din that you shma. This halacha we said that they don't know the top line. The top line ein mekiyim l'shma right away. They don't know the halacha. That most of them do know. In Israel, everybody knows. But in chutz laretz, some don't know, but most of them do know. The most is good enough on the right level. For the right level, the right you could trust. You don't have to worry that it's not l'shma because I drove. It's only Rabbanan. For Rabbanan, we believed one. Now there's a famous Rav Meir that says you don't rely on Rov. Here it says even according to Rav Meir, it's really a Ruba the Ruba. It's like a vast majority. No, not only most of them. Rav Meir, the Chai Shlom Yuta, even Rav Meir that. It's not enough over here that you can rely on the rights that they do the Shema because most of the sofer, most of the scroll means most of the people who write the get, they do know. It means it's a very big role. It's not only a role, it's like a very small minority of the ones who are sofrim. It means not only people in general, but the sofrim, they're the ones who are mamish involved in writing the get. So surely most of them know. That there's a sofer who wrote a get that doesn't know the lach of lishma is like a very small possibility. So with the right say you could lishma, even according to Rav Meir. Rabbanu dasra only.
What did Rabbi Meir say?
Even if the majority a certain status, we don't
knows,
yeah, he will just for me. Like the Gemara talks about if there's by chalitza, and that's the famous case of Rav Meir that could do adulthood. kid is going to be sterile and it's not going to be a good yibum or something like that. Most people are not sterile. So you're going to be choshesh. Maybe he's sterile.
Yes.
So it makes choshesh.
Okay, so and the words are stam sifri is what?
A Safri is the sofer, a scribes. Most
You would
stam.
say stam sifri.
No. I feel even if they're made, that's choshesh for already. The answer is stam Safri Didaini,
Right,
which
Didaini.
scribes. Didaini means are the judges. The Safri Didaini means the court scribes, right?
Mhm.
They do know.
They learn.
Maybe they'll
They
learn
know.
it. They'll learn it. Therefore, everyone, even our mayor, will agree that with the Raisi not choshesh, that it was Rabbanan who datzru. Only with Rabbanan did they necessitate some kind of testimony that is Shema. It's not the Raisi, only Rabbanan. V'hach b'shum iguna. Next page. Rabbanan. We to be held back from a get. If you're not going to let her get divorced with one aid, one shliach came. It would be nice if you have two shluchim, but the husband sent it with one shliach. Are you going to trust him? So they made a leniency to be able to trust him, even though it's only one aid, because with the race you don't need any aiders. What's our problem? One aid, maybe it's not lishma. That's not a chash. Say it's lishma. Ruba is lishma. Maybe not. So that's only Rabbanan. For the Rabbanan, we're not going to make she can get the get until we have two aidim, because we don't want to keep her held back from being able to read. The Gemara objects. You need to be more machmir because now she'll be involved to her get being contested. If you're gonna obligate her to obligate that she should have to have two edim, so that husband can't come to contest her two edim already against him. But if you're only gonna require one aid, the husband might come and contest it. So that's the goal. This says a simple that the Gemara doesn't mean he's actually going to be able to passel it. Once you have the Eid Echad, we said Eid Echad is enough. But the Rai said we don't believe that it's not the Shema. We believe it is the Shema. And even for the Rabbanah Chasham, we have the husband is not going to be believed to contest it anymore. But he's going to make a rumor. He's going to say that I didn't send it, it's not the Shema, whatever complain about it, he's going to make a rumor. So maybe that's a bigger concern that we should not accept one because even though right now it's easier for her to get divorced, but later on she's going to not going to be able to prove get. If you have two edim right away, he's not going to be able to contest it. Taisa says that even if he's going to contest it, the Gemara doesn't mean that's going to be able to pass it. We won't believe him, but it's going to make a rumor. This way, it would have been better to obligate her to have two edim, and that way she's clear kind of rumor against her get. The answer is that it's not a chash the husband is going to on the fourth line. Since we have learned that does the shliach have to give get to the woman when the shliach is now going to deliver the get to the in front of how many people does he have to do that? Okay, so one of them is two, one of them says three. Nobody says one. You have to have at least two, maybe even three. So since it's publicly to the woman, assume that the shliach investigates well. And he's not going to mess himself up. The shliach is more concerned, and therefore we can trust him. So the husband is not going to come. Even if he's going to come, he's not going to be able to get a rumor out because everybody will trust the shliach more than the husband. The Pasha says he's not going to come. He's not going to make a rumor. That's the Gemara. The Gemara's kasha was, why not require her to have to weigh them right away in the beginning in order that it shouldn't rumor against the guest? The answer is probably not going to be because this whole ceremony or the way that we set up get with a lot of people. So it's not reasonable to think that all that the shliach is going to make sure that the husband gave it to him and he's serious. It doesn't mean to make any problems later on. That's the Gemara. We finished the Gemara's going to continue now. The same time we'll stop here. The Gemara's going to continue with Rava now, but just to leave out Rava, the Gemara's going to say the same thing over again in Rava. Who said the problem is verification. So far we just did according to Rava. Just to sum up the Gemara today, that the Gemara has the whole takana of the funny nechta. And what's it all about? Rava said this was They don't know Allah of Lishma. We have verification that when Adam comes, he says that it was Lishma. A little problem, footnote, he doesn't say that's Lishma, he does say funny nechta. How does that can include Lishma? We'll find out later. But he says that it was signed and written in front of me, that'll be the verification that it's Lishma. Rabbi says the issue is with verification if necessary. And from Medina Sayyam, we don't have any to verify if the husband will contest it. So therefore, clear it now and make the funny nechta. If one said 3 enough kaminas, one is going to be if you have 2 Adam bringing it, so the problem of the Shema, but it's not a verification because they said that you gave it. And Dina Lamdina Beres Israel, there's Lishma, but there's no verification. And the same Medina Yam, there's verification, but there's no Lishma. The more I don't cash yourself on Rabbah, you should have to have 2 Adam. Eidachanam Yisrael doesn't apply over here, either because it's against the Chazaka or because it's a Dava Shabbat. And the Gemara says, and the Rov suffered the Daini, so it's a very small shift with the Raisi, that is the Shema, it's only with Rabbanan, so we're going to make over the Guna, that is enough. You might think that it's better to require her too, because the husband won't come and make rumors against her. The answer is he's not going to make rumors because the Shliach takes care of that. The fact he's going to have to give it in public by 2 and 3, so he's not going to give it unless he knows for sure that the husband was serious about what he's doing, and there's no chance that the husband's going to come.
What was the last step where they said the kula is going to be a homer?
No, that you think you're being lenient for
High
her.
kula,
You think you're making a leniency for her because you care about her so much. If you care about her, you're making a leniency, but at the end, it's going to make her problems. It's better to be stringent now that
the problems are what?
that the husband I can contest it if you only have 1 aid. If you have 2 aid, and he's no rumor, I won't believe him. So better to be marked on her.
If you have 2, then he can't come and contest it.
Right, but
And
if
they
only
could
1,
also-
he'll come and contest it.
The chad, but 1 coming.
And the answer is that he's not able to make a rumor against it. Shliach, who has to give it in front of 2 or 3 people, is surely going to verify whatever he's saying is true. And the husband gave it willingly. He wasn't, and he's not going to come and make a rumor later on against him. So that's the reason why we rely on.
Okay.
Just one question, sorry, in terms of writing which, therefore, we, 1 and 8.